SharkNation, welcome to another episode of the SharkPod. We are live from Greystone Studios, aka my box room. Marky B, Mark Baker's out there in Glenageary as usual. Mark Baker, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm not that fresh. I won't say I'm fresh. I'm straight off a plane, a Ryanair flight. But yeah, all good, all good.
Great, fresh from the abusive behaviour of the Ryanair staff. He's back, and and we've got our guest today is Samantha Kelly out of Wexford. The Tweeting Goddess is the company, and you are very welcome, Samantha.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys. And I am in my box room in Rosslare Harbour.
3 box rooms coming together, all over the East Coast. This is what it's all about. I'm really enjoying getting back to my roots here, doing this podcast. I spent all week doing other quote unquote professional podcasts, and this one is more for fun. So I'm delighted to get going this evening. So Samantha, the Tweeting Goddess, what's the business all about?
Well, I help people who want to raise their profile, get more sales, get more clicks, get more ticket sales, anything like that, anything online sales, but particularly Twitter and LinkedIn. So anything in the B2B space. I am a Twitter expert. I'm an author of the little book of Twitter Magic, which I have here. And I'm also a Tedx speaker. And I'm also the director of the Women's Inspire Network, which I created because I wanted to create an online network because I knew it could go global. And and I've got women for 480 members now from all over the world. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a whole life that I never imagined and didn't exist. This job didn't even exist a few years ago. So it's cool.
Incredible. Like the amount of stuff that you like. How many? This is something that I was just wondering the other day, because we were, like I was saying, I was putting together that other podcast for work, and it's gonna, like, we're thinking about all the distribution channels and all that good stuff. And I'm thinking, how many people in the world are using the internet every day, and how many people are actually getting benefit out of it rather than just being a consumer? It's crazy, isn't it?
It's you know what I love about it? It gives the normal person and the nobody a chance to be a somebody. And I was, I'm 13 years sober, so my journey really started when I got rid of whatever was holding me back, and that's really where everything started for me. And then I started my first business when I was hitting 40. It was an essential item that I needed to get for my daughter. So my first business was a first period gift box for girls, which just totally happened by accident. The usual thing when entrepreneurs start a business, it was something they went and looking for and it wasn't there. And I always say, if you can't find what you're looking for, create it. So I created it, and I ended up on Dragon's Den, and it was just a whirlwind of, I had no money. I was a lone parent. I had no good bank record. Nobody was going to give me a loan. So that really kind of catapulted me into the public eye as well. So I'd be on TV a lot, and I'd be on the radio a lot. And now I speak all over the world at conferences about my story, because I had no money when I started, and now I run 2 businesses. So the Funky Goddess story was how it started. But then, because I had no marketing budget, I started using Twitter. In particular, because I knew my target customer. I knew who they were. It was mums, dads of children that were that age. So 10, 11, 12, sorry, lads, if you have daughters, 10, 11, 12, just letting you know. So I know. But it was such a taboo topic as well, and still is, that I feel that's why I got so much attention. And because I'm not very shy, I was able to be on the radio and stuff. But really, because I started using Twitter to market my business, I realized the power of storytelling, the power of building your network and building your community around you, and the power of going global using social media. So that's really where it started. And now I've 61.5, I think it's 61,000 followers on Twitter. I'm a verified Twitter account, and my Women's Inspire Network is thriving as well. So it's just amazing. It's just, if you told me this 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you,
It's crazy. And so what year was it when I'm trying to line this up with the kind of the evolution of social media. What year was the
2016. So there was Facebook.
Yeah.
Kind of Facebook and Twitter, really, bit of YouTube. Like Instagram didn't exist. Crazy. TikTok didn't exist.
Forget about these things, how they come along and they're in the zeitgeist. People just think they've always been there.
And Snapchat didn't exist either.
I was even saying to somebody earlier during the week as well when they were talking about their and they're a little bit older than usual, but they're thinking about doing a kind of interrailing trip next summer. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be great. You'll have a great time. Doesn't matter what age you are. You go see, do whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking back to my time when I did that, and that was in 2007, I think, and we didn't have any Google Maps.
No.
I was like, how did we get around? I don't know how we figured it out. We just walk around aimlessly in Prague and.
But you know what? We had more adventures though, I feel, because we had to ask for directions, and then we'd meet some mad, crazy person who would bring us to their place and let us stay the night for the night. It was like there was always crazy stories. I'm the same. I lived in Paris for 2 years. We didn't have. I mean, I wrote a letter to my parents, or I rang home. I had to get a phone card if I wanted to ring home. It's mad, yeah.
Completely insane. Then we also had the only thing that we had for the trains was a year-old like train timetable book. That's all we had. We had no way to look it up. We had no internet on our phones or anything, and somehow we got around. So you don't have to. People think people get too attached to the technology, but you can do it without it. But anyway, I digress. So when you guys are getting started with that business, and then you start to use Twitter, and at what stage you say this is something that I love doing, this is something that I have a knack for, something I can build a business around?
Well, it was when people started saying, oh, you need to talk to Samantha. She's a Twitter expert. I was like, am I? Am I a Twitter expert? Yeah. And the more people that put me on these global lists of people to follow and people that are doing marketing right, I was like, am I? Am I doing marketing right? It just came naturally to me. I always knew the importance of surprising and delighting your customers. I always knew this importance of customer service, of sales. I was good at sales. I worked with Winback for Aircom years ago. And if you can sell that, you can do, if you can knock on 40 doors and do sales, you can do any sales, and it's about persistence, determination, all of that stuff, and not giving up, but also kindness. It's a huge one, and I think I'm sure you guys can also think, and people listening, there's always one person you remember helped you along in your journey. There's always one person that sat down and said, well, what would you like to do? And that's the person. I want to be that woman that I needed when I started my business. I needed someone to say, okay, this is a great idea. What are we going to do to help you? And it was actually men. It was my mentors were men that actually helped me. So I think now, especially, I am passionate about giving women the confidence to go and do this stuff. Like some people, I've got some hassle on Twitter saying, oh, who does she think she is? She's way above her station. And, stuff like, like it's not bragging. I am an expert. I am one of the best in the world. But we have to start believing and owning that. If you're an expert in what you do, you're an expert in what you do. And I think that women don't even put themselves forward. If there's panel discussions or if there's events, I've got opportunities for people and then they back out. So I think.
Why do you think they do that?
I think it's confidence. I think it's just a fear of not
Judging.
Owning that expertise and being afraid. Like I used to go to other events and I'd watch the Twitter expert on the stage and I go, I know more than that person. I could do that, and that's where I realized I could actually do this. So I don't know if I digressed there a little bit, but really that's where it started. Yeah. People started calling me an expert.
It's really interesting though, because I think that there is, and maybe it's not just a women issue, but also I think Irish people find it difficult to say, I'm the expert in this. I know more. I think what is an expert? More than 90% of the population, I would say, at a certain scale, or I don't know what.
An expert is someone that knows more than you do on a particular topic. Like Mark, I know nothing about recruitment. So I have a girl who does Instagram. She's brilliant on Instagram. She's on my team because I'm not brilliant on Instagram. So I need someone that's brilliant on Instagram for my clients. And an expert is someone who knows a hell of a lot more on that topic that they're good at than you would know.
And can give like real value.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing as well. It's really interesting. So I guess from that point of view, when you got going with that, the next step, I guess, is building a business around that. So is the business now around coaching people, trying to do you work on like individual campaigns, or is it more trying to coach people to be better on Twitter, better on what's the business there?
Kind of at first it was managing accounts because the local hotel here, White's Wexford it was at the time.
Okay.
They asked me would I come in and show them how to use Twitter. So I showed them. They were like, "Oh, will you just do it for us?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll manage the account for you." And that's when I realized I had another business. So I'd sold Funky Goddess at this stage to a customer, because I was still getting loads of sales, but I wasn't actually making a profit. And I was working, and I was exhausted. And all the lessons I've learned along the way, I try and share as much as possible. But yeah, when I took over the Twitter account, Delata, the head office rang and said, "How did you get 15% increase in your clicks to sale?" And they were like, "Well, Samantha's running our account." You know what I mean? All I was doing was I went back to all the customers they had before, that had engaged with them before, and I started chatting to them. So I said, "Hiya, Mary, how's it going? And I see that you just did those cakes look great that you're doing the cake sale," or whatever it was I did. I commented, and then she went, "Oh, do you know what? We haven't been back in ages." And here she was thinking, the hotel is talking to me. This is great. And next thing she said, "Have you any special breaks, actually, any discounts at the moment? Because I haven't been down to you in a while." And I just went, "Yeah, here you go." And I sent the link, and then she clicked and bought a package. And that is how it's done. It's about engaging with your customers. And I have a real talent for doing that anyway. But a lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, don't get that. They just look, publish, post. They don't actually engage. So it's about finding your customers. What are they doing? Who are they? What age are they? What's going on in their lives? So it's about, and that's why Twitter lists are great. And a lot of people aren't aware of Twitter lists, that you can fine tune your experience. So you're not just seeing all the noise, that you're actually just following people you are interested in. So yeah, that's really where I started, was managing accounts. But then I moved to, people started asking me to speak at conferences, and then they asked me to train their company or their team in the company. And I was like, okay, so I had to build my team so that my team could take over when I was doing this traveling and all. And now my team mostly does that stuff. And I don't really take on a lot of those unless it's a campaign, like a run up to Christmas, for example, an event. If it's a big event that's coming up that you want to promote, or if it's something that you want to launch, to kind of, you always give 3-month lead time if you're going to launch something, or to build a community and build relationships and build your brand advocates before you actually launch. I always advise people to that. Crowdfunding campaigns, I do them as well, very successfully. So now I prefer to I do a lot of consulting for companies that just want my ideas, because I have really good ideas, and I love that work. So it's like, oh my God, they should do this, they should do that. And I love seeing it and implementing it. And then I also teach one-to-one. So I do workshops and stuff as well. Yeah.
So there's a lot going on there. And one thing that I thought that was kind of an inflection point for you, it seems like when you got into like public speaking and stuff like that, did that come naturally to you, or was that the first kind of engagement you did there? Was that kind of nerve-wracking?
I'm just laughing because I actually used to sing in a band, and we used to play in Latouche and Greystones. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's an apartment built. So I'd say Greystones was sleepy. When I was growing up, we used to go. We used to get the dart out from Dunleary out to go fishing there.
I go fishing. I love fishing. Yeah.
And it was a sleepy village. And I remember when my wife started working here and she wanted to move here, I was like, I'm never moving to Greystones. So I'm in the city here. I'll never move there. And then like a year later, we were here and living that.
Oh, it's lovely. You see, a lot of people used to go to Latouche. There was a nightclub there or something. And we used to sing the band anyway. But anyway, that was years ago. But I had the confidence to sing on the stage. So
Okay.
I wasn't afraid of that. No.
Okay. It's interesting because I think I've spoke to somebody recently on the podcast that I've been doing for work, and they were brilliant. They had so much talk about expertise. This lady, like such specific knowledge on an industry. It was really enlightening. Anyone who was listening to that industry would be better off for it. It was real valuable stuff. And afterwards, she was like, "Oh, I was terrified of that. I'd never been on a microphone. I'd never been on a stage before. Like that was a big step for me." So I was delighted that she got to do that, in her career. But
you see, when you're
like that,
Well, you see, when you actually are passionate, she's passionate about her niche. And when you're passionate about your niche, you can talk about it. Like if I said to Luke, or if I said to Mark, right? If I said, "Mark, do you know what? Someone's dropped out of my conference. I need you to talk about a topic for 20 minutes. What can you talk about for 20 minutes? without any preparation. So Luke, you could talk about starting a podcast. You could talk about fishing. Mark, you could talk about art. You could talk about recruitment. So it's about finding your niche, and it's so important to find your niche. Mine is Twitter. Like, how many Twitter experts do you know, and how many social media experts do you know? There's only like 2 main Twitter experts, myself and Madeline Sklar, and maybe Keith Keller in Australia. That's 3. So there's not many, you know. So it's about finding that niche and making sure that you are the best at what you do.
It's interesting. And also, what you were talking about, the engagement there when you were working with the hotel, I think that's, that might be kind of a little bit of a secret weapon for Mark Baker as well. When he reached out to people with the recruiting thing, you're a little bit more specific to what's happening in their world to kind of get them to, get that conversation going. Like that, it's so, the way things are now, it's a lot of noise going on the internet, right? And how do you get people's attention through, like you said, just blasting out updates?
You don't just blast it. That's the thing, you see. You don't just blast out updates.
Why do people do that then?
Because they don't
feel
understand. I don't know. I mean, if you check the engagement, there's probably no engagement on those tweets. I don't know. Or people just think that because it's going out, it's hitting somebody. But you know what? It's actually about standing out. And what I do is I start following, like, for example, SharkPod podcast. Okay. If I was running your Twitter account, will I give you an example like that? Okay.
Yeah.
If I was running your Twitter account, I would go and I would follow people who I know listen to podcasts. I'd also follow people in business.
How do we find those people?
You go and look at other podcasts and you find out, you look in search and you look at the hashtag podcast and you see the people who are commenting on those posts about podcasts. You also, anyone that's mentioned the word podcast, you can actually search for as well. And if you look at our podcasts and see that people are commenting on webinars as well and stuff like that, but also people in business, they like to listen to podcasts. Walkers, there was a hashtag called 100 days of walking. A lot of those walkers listen to podcasts. So that's what I'd be doing. I'd start building relationships there. But then it's the content piece. So you need to kind of, well, why should they listen to your podcast? You start putting up images of the speakers that you had before. What was the gem that you got from that conversation? I mean, you do this. You have all those little quotes. So I actually used one of your quotes when with one of your ex-interviewees, and I used one of those quotes because it was really good, because it inspires. When you inspire, give hope, and educate on Twitter, you'll do really well.
I'm taking notes here, Samantha.
Like Mark Baker, you got to educate people. You're an artist. People love that type of thing as well. I think there's a lot of people aspiring to be, artists and
stuff.
People love to see my start to finish. I put up like parts of it, like start, step by step type of thing. People love that. I never would have thought that was content. The actual making of it is more than the actual finished product.
Do you know what? Take them on a journey. Always take them on a journey. I did that I paint as well, Mark. And I did that with this one. I did before and after and all that.
It's written you don't do.
But that's just the kind of thing I do, just little landscape things. But like what I did was I did the before, and then I did work in progress, and they love it, and they love seeing the finished one. And so what you didn't I comment on that, or didn't I like it or something? I'm sure I liked the Roy Keane one. So you're getting people interested. We're interested, you see. So keep them interested. So the next time you do something similar. So why did I particularly comment on that one, do you think? Because I knew the person. There's an attachment, an emotional attachment to the World Cup and Italia 90, and so do another one around that. Like whatever posts do well, why did it do well? Investigate. Is it the emotion? I know when I did my tweet, I did a tweet that went viral there when the pandemic started. And I was like, why did that go viral? And another one that went really well was, it was hope. The 2 common themes were hope. Isn't that interesting? Because the one I did was my husband proposing to me in New York, and my husband was 59 at the time. And like, I'm no spring chicken, I'm 50, right? But at the time, I was like, why did that do so well? First of all, everyone loves a bit of romance, right? And it was in New York, which is, and then, but the amount of people that said, oh, there's hope for me still, because my husband was 10 years older than me. they knew that he was older, and he was like, oh, is that his first time getting married? And I was like, yeah, I'm the first time he ever got married, my third time. But anyway, that's another story. But like, that was the thing that came out of it, was hope, because I was giving hope to people by that nice story. So stories all the time. Yeah.
I love that idea of the hope as something to kind of put out there, because I remember we did one of our podcasts with Andy Mackin, Mark, and contacted me afterwards, because Andy, I don't know if you've come across him, Samantha, but he's built a huge business out of Blarney. I think he's in Cork, and it's crazy international business, growing like mad. And he only started that business in his 40s. It was his first business, and I think that they're looking to do $30 million or something this year. And someone reached out to me and said, "That's great. I'm in my 40s. I never did anything entrepreneurial before." And this guy was in the Navy since he was 18, and then just overnight just changed and his entire life. And he's the most helpful person to anyone who asks. He's a really great guy, I think
really great guy.
That kind of giving back, he'll take a call from anyone, I feel like.
But this is important what you just mentioned though, Luke. The people who were kind to me, were leaders at the top of their game. The most successful people are kind. They don't stomp over others to succeed. They don't bitch about others. They don't complain. They inspire, and they engage, and they make people feel special. I was speaking at the same event. I'm going to name drop now. Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you know Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah. He was speaking in Dublin, and I was speaking as well. And so I was in the green room, Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was like, what? And it was just so lovely. He was so nice. And one thing I noticed about him, every single person he met, he made eye contact with, and he nodded and made them feel special, made them feel like someone. It's huge. Next time you see a leader, like someone that you admire in a conference or something, watch that. You'll see how they treat people. So yeah, it's really interesting what you said there, Luke. Yeah.
Interesting. And I guess one of the other things actually I wanted to say just before we move on, because this kind of connected. I saw that you were on the Success Story podcast with Scott J. Cleary.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's lovely.
He seems like a really nice guy. And he marked a podcast in America. He also interviewed Grant Cardone. We're always about 2 separations from him. I don't know what it is. We've had loads of people on the podcast that kind of are kind of attached to him. Or we had Joe Doyle on as well, who's like, I'd say personal friends with Grant Cardone as well. So that was weird. How did that kind of come about, the Success Story podcast? How did you get on there?
Oh, lovely. And by the way, if you're in Clubhouse, I spoke to Grant Cardone on Clubhouse. So if you go to Clubhouse, you get a chance to speak to him. Do you know the social audio app?
Yeah, me and Mark are a couple of Huawei guys, so we actually don't have the access to that without our iPhone. We're on.
No, I have. No, you have. I'm Android.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you have access. If you want me to show you later, I can show you. But Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, Luke. Twitter Spaces, Mark and Luke, please check out Twitter Spaces. You could do your podcast, the SharkPod. Oh, I so many ideas for you guys. Twitter Spaces is social audio as well. And so you've got Twitter Spaces and, sorry, I get a bit excited, sorry. Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. And there are hardly any Irish people using it. And I am cleaning up over in Clubhouse because there's no Twitter expert over there. Madeline Scalar is using Twitter Spaces. I use Twitter Spaces as well. But I kind of stepped back when I could see how much I hadn't got time to do what they were doing. They were doing a room every week. And I was like, oh no, I just don't have the time. I'm running 2 businesses. So I said, right, I'll just pop in when I feel like it. So sometimes I just open a room. So what I'll do is, Mark and Luke, I'll let you know when I'm opening a room and maybe send you a little link. And what we do is, if you see Twitter Spaces, is this visual? I can show you. Yeah. Okay. So I know the people listening won't be able to see this, but I can talk you through it. So let's say you have your Twitter app open. So open Twitter on your phone. I'll just show you where it is so you can know where to find it. And you've got home down the bottom here. Do you see the purple at the top?
Yeah.
That's Twitter Spaces. So they're rooms.
Interesting.
So there's one about bugs, Twitter Spaces bugs. Let's go in there. So this is Quinn. She's the Twitter engineer. So you go in there and it's connecting to a Twitter space. See? And there are all the people that are in it. If I join this, you can hear them.
Wow. So it's very similar to the idea of the Clubhouse, I guess. Is that Okay, so they're in there talking about bugs.
They're in there talking about bugs. And which is one I would like to go to because I get bugs because I'm Android. So you see, this is the thing. You get to know the engineers, you get to know the other Twitter folk. But like one of the guys in there is actually speaking at my conference on the 13th of October, all about Twitter Spaces. And we're going to network in Twitter Spaces afterwards. Wow. Social audio is so, and Grant Cardone is often on Clubhouse and you will hear him talking. You can ask him questions. But, you know, he wouldn't be my favorite though. You know, I think there's a lot of good people. He's very manny, isn't he? Like, you know, maybe I just like, there's like some leaders like Bill Yao I love. You know, there's so many different leaders, you know, that I just admire, and people are watching you all the time as well, you know, and you might not see them say to me, oh, congratulations, like I was featured in the top 50 list, women in tech or whatever recently, and I just laughed at how I said that. Yeah. And what happened was I got private messages from real top leaders saying congratulations, but didn't say it in public, but they're watching. So they're probably listening to your Shark Pod podcast as well.
It's happened a couple of times where the people who reach out to us to say, you know, to go on the podcast. I know one in particular where like, yeah, you can come on. Like, you know, some guys sold $750 million worth of companies, like, and he's like, yeah, but listening to some of your stuff, I'm like, you're listening to that while you're going for your walk. Listen to me and Mark. Yeah, sometimes it's just me and Mark having a discussion. And
yeah, but you see, it's good. It's quality content. It's good. It's you know
personal,
what? It's
though,
nice. Yeah, it's nice. It's don't forget, people have been through the mill the past year and a half. And I think people are listening to podcasts more than ever. So now is the time to make yours stand out more than ever. So I've already said to Mark, you know, I can probably, if you write me a list of desirable people you'd like to have in the podcast, I might be able to help you connect. And that's really important, connecting people with each other. You know, it could be one useful introduction could change everything for somebody, small business especially, you know.
Especially now.
Yeah, sure. Look, we're here right now because of Rob in Dublin Chamber, Rob Cullen.
Rob is great. Rob's great. Yeah.
That's what he does best. He refers people.
He's a master networker. He is, and I actually had Rob speaking at one of my events as well, one of my Women's Inspire Network events, and we've been good allies for a long time, and it's been wonderful to see what he's done, how he's changed his life. It's amazing. Like, so anytime I see him, I could try and go along and support. Like, he was down here in Wexford at the food festival, and you know, I try and support himself and Yvonne, and I met the boys, and you know, it's all about people. Everything's about people, and you know, it's just making that bit of effort and saying, you know what, I will go to your book launch, or yes, I will go, you know, just making that little bit of extra effort. They remember that.
I think as well, like these days, a lot of people are still working from home. I know offices are kind of opening, semi-open over the next couple of months, but I don't think it's going to go back to the way it was very soon. And I think that the people have been pretty much shut off from meeting new people in person for the last couple of years. And it, you know, if you think about your career, you can kind of pick out people like you mentioned that kind of helped you along the way, or made that introduction or whatever. And I think when you're working in your box room, it can be a little bit difficult to do that, and you have to maybe put yourself out there a little bit more. You can spend all your day doing like a list of tasks, but you can do one thing that will really move the needle. So I'm trying to figure that out every day. Say, what's the big thing here that makes everything else? You know, if I didn't do that, it'd be fine. I think that, you know, meeting people might be the way to go.
It could be the right introduction, though. It could be just as simple as that, or it could be, you know, like I have my conference on the 13th of October. Okay, I'd love more people to see that that's on, because I know they'd love it, especially if they're in business. You know, so it could be just somebody retweeting that to a lot of people that actually are my target market. You know, it could be me getting in front of. Maybe someone's listening today that might want to come to the conference. You know, or it could be even them just retweeting it. It's all about going global, claiming your space, owning it, and going global. So I just think during the pandemic, I saw so many people actually start to go global. Like, I have a client, and she's a music school, and obviously the music schools had to close and stuff. And so she started doing online lessons. And now my daughter here in Rosslare Harbour, she's in Terranure in Rosslare Harbour, does violin lessons online. And now she's gone global. She has clients all over the world. And another lady who was my client, she was doing yoga, and I'd already been teaching her before the pandemic hit how to do yoga classes online. And then the pandemic hit, and guess who was ready for the pandemic? She now has clients all over the world, in Japan, in the US, and she's speaking at my conference as well, Emma. And you know what? It's all about, the conference is all about just giving tips on how to go global. So how to organize your calendar, to do those calendar invites, to organize your calendar, how to increase your prices with confidence. Okay, because just because you're online doesn't mean you have to decrease your prices, because you still have the same knowledge you're sharing. We've other things like we're going to be doing Twitter spaces, showing people how to use social audio. We'll have Joe Costello as well, talking about how to avoid burnout. And, I work very hard, you work very hard. Like, sometimes we have to, like, it's still evening time, so I'm going to go out with the dogs now for a walk. But it's like you said, in this box room space, this is one of the reasons our membership went up 28%, because people were feeling isolated and lonely working from home. And it's one of the reasons I started the network. And you can build relationships online. Like, we haven't met in real life yet, but we will. We'll be at some event some stage and we will meet. But, you can build. I have 3 clients I haven't met in real life yet.
It's so funny how things work out. And
yeah.
With the network, what's the main the main thing that you guys are doing with the network? Is it that's what it is? It is a network. So you guys are looking to help each other. Is there like mentorship? What's the network?
Yeah, all of that. We do weekly webinars. So we teach them how to thrive online. So we teach them how to use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all the social media platforms. We teach them about pricing. We teach them about how to do a sale, how to follow up with a sale, the basic stuff we all need to do as business owners. Like some of the webinars we have lined up, a security one next week, how to keep your business secure, like 3 things that you can implement today. I always like doing things you can implement today because there's too many conferences I went to where I was like, I can't implement any of that now. I have to do his workshop, or I have to, and it's like, I like people to get value. And when you get value, then if they want to do the workshop or whatever it is, that's fine. But nobody really sells on my conferences either. It's either you just really like that person, and because they've shared their knowledge, you go, do you know what? I'm definitely going to do her workshop. She's brilliant, and that's what you want. But yeah, so it's all, the network is online. We do mentoring. They get mentoring with me or one of my team or whoever it is. Let's say they're struggling with email marketing. I have an email marketing expert. I have an expert in nearly everything. So if you need anything, I probably know an expert in that. But that's also my Twitter network, not just my Women's Inspire network. So I know a lot of guys who are brilliant at what they do. So if I can't find them in the network, I'll get them 30 minutes with that person. And then we feature the members strongly. And that's really important. And I think a lot of networks don't do this. And this is a gap I saw. It's all about the members. It's actually not about me at all. So I'd rather talk about my members, like Sonia with the music school, Emma, Sharon, who was on the radio for the first time today because they needed a social media expert, but she lives in Kerry and it was a Kerry radio station. So I said, Sharon, you do it. Go on, you'd be brilliant. And she was brilliant. And now she feels more confident to do it again. And that's what I like. I want to show them that, look, you can do this, and I'm so proud where I am now. And it took me years to get here and to be taken seriously. But I don't want to do this on my own. I want to bring people with me. And I think that's important. And I don't think enough people do that. So I just want to and that's why I don't have it expensive or anything. That's why it's 20 euros a month. I mean, and there's no need. I think there's too much. Before the pandemic, this is sorting the men out from the boys. Before the pandemic, there was a bit of bitching and a bit of taking clients and all this kind of crap. But you know what? I don't think that's going to happen now. I think the people who stood their ground and were here for people, were here for their followers, were here to help, the ones that stayed visible, they're going to shine the most because people were watching and kindness is huge. And everybody is just, you know what? I just want a good person to work with me now. I don't want to work with that person. I don't care if maybe they're the best, but they're an idiot, So I want to just be around good people. So I don't know if that made sense, but I'm just saying that is where I think things are going to change. I think people buy from people. And I think the people that really stood out during this pandemic were the ones that helped during this pandemic. So
I think that kind of growth mindset that people kept rather than the scarcity mindset, I think that kind of shines through as well.
Yeah.
Which is all really interesting stuff. Mark Baker, like we've got a lightning round in the bag here that we might.
Lightning round?
It's lightning questions. They're not even that quick. Mark,
we need to rename that. We need to rename this round.
Do I need a buzzer? Do I need a buzzer or something?
They're not lightning round at all. I don't know why.
Okay.
Actually, I want to ask you a question.
That sounds like a good idea, though.
Yeah,
we want a lightning round.
I must work on that. What's some actionable steps that people can take right now to improve their Twitter following or activity or presence?
Okay, well, the first thing you could do is follow yourselves and follow me on Twitter. Just tweet me and say, I was listening to the SharkPod podcast and this is the part I really liked, and I will retweet it to 60,000 people. So that would be something that can be implemented straight away. Also, if you check your bio and look at your bio and say, right, would I follow me? Do I look interesting enough for someone to follow? Is my bio filled in properly? Have I got a really good headshot? I went to John Murray Photos and I got my headshot done. And it's a deadly headshot. I don't know if you've seen it, but it just really brings my personality out, the mischievousness in my eye, the glint in my eye, and then yet it looks like a powerful businesswoman kind of thing. So, get a really good headshot. Make
People
sure your
underestimate that, I think, for sure. That's your avatar. That's who you are online. That's who everybody sees all the time. Yeah, people will
state of mind, Mark. It's rubbish. I gotta put that out. See,
it's such a simple thing, but as you can see, I don't look all polished like that headshot now. But it's like it's just your image. It's your personal brand. So definitely check the headshot. Yeah. Fill in your bio, and the easiest thing you can do is tag me and just say, hi, heard you on the podcast, this is my business, this is what I do, and I will retweet it to 60,000 people, unless you're going to be talking about something negative, that's something that's going to hurt somebody. I wouldn't retweet it then.
Here's a quick question. How do I filter the negativity out of Twitter when I go on Twitter? The reason I actually stopped or I cut down on it is actually because it's so depressing. Some of the stuff.
You should go to my Twitter feed. It's so fluffy. You're just following people who are negative. Unfollow the people who are being negative. Yeah, unfollow.
Any newscasters, I must unfollow them, because it's mostly newscasters or news people sharing bad news about COVID. Well, it was for a while.
Well, you see, that's actually what people started going to Twitter for, was because the latest news as it happens. So what you could do is put them on a Twitter list. So you create a Twitter list for news, Twitter list for people you really like following, like Samantha. You put a Twitter list and you put Rob in that list, and people that are adding value. And you can create a Twitter list of potential speakers, potential guests, Twitter list of other podcasts, create your Twitter list. Go and look at my Twitter list. Have some cool people on that list, and start creating these lists. And then just in the morning, check your notifications and go straight to your Twitter list and say, right, how can I help Rob today? How can I help Samantha today? Maybe I could retweet. Maybe I can. And then usually when someone retweets me, I go and look at their last tweet and I usually retweet that as a thank you. Mm-hmm. So it's all about helping each other.
Yeah. Really. What's more powerful, words and image, or just words?
On Twitter, words and image, or video. Okay. We haven't mentioned video, have we, today? Video is very powerful. But only under 2 minutes 20 is the longest you can do a video. But I do Twitter live sometimes. You can do Twitter live. Oh, yeah. I also use Restream, and I stream little tutorials, and I go to Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook all at the same time. So there's so many things you can do. But image is very powerful. Put your branding on the image, and then something in the tweet, and maybe a hashtag. Hashtags, a couple of hashtags. Don't use any more than 2. On Twitter.
How often should you be posting?
Whenever your audience are there. So you have to figure out, when are my audience online? So think about what you're doing now. It's Friday evening time. It's probably kids, bed, bath time, blah, blah, blah. Think about that. And then 9:30 is when my audience are on. 9:30 to 11 p.m. when the Late Late Show is on. So just think about what the other people are doing. So another good time is the morning commute. Another good time is coffee break, about 10:30, 10:30. So it depends when your audience are there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay, I'll start with some of these questions. Look, they're not quick fire.
Was that not the quick fire
No.
round? No.
That was just
I
for
thought
me.
that was the quick fire.
Samantha, you haven't even got to the lightning yet. Let's
Okay.
see the swatch of
My first question is probably, I know the answer to it, but okay, I'll say apart from Twitter, what other apps do you use the most?
Oh, well, I love LinkedIn. Apps, you mean? Sorry, apps. Do you mean apps
LinkedIn
or social media platforms?
On your phone, like when you're going to your phone, what are you clicking into most? LinkedIn? Do you do much on LinkedIn? Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I'm actually a bit of a LinkedIn expert too now. Yeah,
Okay,
LinkedIn. Yeah, Clubhouse.
I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. It's getting more human too. Have you noticed?
Yes.
I think people are for a long time they were squeaky clean on there.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, I want to hear if people's kind of like, I don't know, I follow a lot of people because I'm in sales and stuff like that. I follow a lot of people like that, or I'm connected to a lot of people. It's all about, how great the product is. And so, like one or two people will be like, yeah, lost this big customer today. This is why. And then I'll click in there because I want to figure out what's going on.
Yes, exactly. And that's, I always had it, the human, and someone said, this is not Facebook, and but actually it really works for me. And the people that are following me are actually really good people like that actually loved following me because it was human. So look, sorry, I'll just open my phone. Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. I love TikTok for playing because I have a little kitten and I put up videos of the kitten and the dogs. TikTok is for playing. Another one is X Recorder, which records your screen. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. It's X Recorder there. So that records your screen. I have RT Radio 1 there, funny enough. Airbnb. Anything else?
That's enough. That's enough. Okay, what? Okay, here's a
wait, my couch to 5K as well. My map, my walk is there as well.
Perfect. Gotta keep healthy.
Yeah.
What was the next one? Sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah. Look, apart from Twitter, what's your favorite social media and why?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
I think because it's still B2B, is still the same kind of audience. Like Twitter is like LinkedIn's living room. And the more LinkedIn people realize that, the better. You've got the same decision makers on Twitter. You've got the journalists on Twitter. So powerful for B2B.
It'd be great if you're able to map your LinkedIn connections onto Twitter and just kind of connect with them all straight away automatically. So, okay. What's the best business idea you've never acted upon? That's a hard one.
My dad had one. It was anti-inflammable wallpaper.
Okay, I like that idea. I think
but it didn't work. It went on fire. It's on my Tedx talk, that story.
Oh, really?
But the best business idea I didn't act on. I suppose the best business idea I had was actually Funky Goddess, but I don't think the world was ready yet.
And that was a subscription thing, was it? That was
No, it was a gift box that a lone father could give their daughter, or a separated father. Now she comes up for the weekend, she gets her period, and it's like, but like it had everything she needed in the box, and nice little girly things too. So I do think that I might revisit that someday.
That to me would work well as a subscription, like obviously an altered version of it.
There is a subscription model. Yeah,
there
is one like that, but it doesn't make much money, you see. So you have to kind of think like a businesswoman now a little bit, So
tell Samantha your idea for the subscription one.
Okay.
Don't say it out loud because people rob that,
I think it's already.
Oh, okay.
So Mark, this is years ago. Okay, let's cast our minds back. This is a different kind of setup with the internet. It was just getting going, really. It was probably 2008. So e-com's kind of not new, but it's got like people are buying things off eBay there.
Yeah.
And I always had this thing where I love new socks. When I put on new socks, I feel like a millionaire walking around. I feel like I'm walking on air. I feel like I could take on the world with these new socks.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, how can I live like this every day? So I said to Mark, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a URL, because that's how you start a business, Mark, right? I've got about 10. And I said, it's going to be called the Millionaire Sock. Or was it Millionaire Sock Club? Mark?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, $million Sock Club. That's what it's called. It's .com.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, we'd send you 30 pairs of socks every month, and then you use them once and throw them away, right?
I think it was $1 sock club. That's what it was.
See, the thing is, fast fashion and all that would be like,
it's bad for the environment. It's bad for, like, it's a bad look, but it's for it would be for those people who, I don't think I'd come up with that now. I was like 19 at the time, but it was full of holes. Also, who's going to order? It's going to be a big box of socks coming to. We were going to keep them all. They're going to be everywhere. So it didn't work out in the end, but I think there's probably a market for that. I just wanted to live like a millionaire, with socks.
Well, the funny thing is, when you come up with a business idea, you'll always come up with another one. My dad was always coming up with all kinds of business. He always like Del Boy, be like, if we could just think of one little thing, we'd be millionaires. And you know what? You will think of another one. Even on Dragon's Den, Bobby Kerr said, I'm not going to invest this time, but I do think you're going to come up with something else. He did say that, So
it's it wasn't to be, but Mark, what's the next question?
There's something still there. I just know it's going to come out soon.
Okay. How much money is enough money?
Enough where you are not worried when a bill comes in the door. And when I was a lone parent, a bill coming in the door could cause a lot of stress. And I don't think many people understand. It's not nice being poor. It's not nice living week to week and not having money. So having enough money is that where I'm not worried if a bill comes in the door, if I'm not worried if my car tax needs to be renewed. It's like, yes, I can just do it. Like, that's success to me, and being able to help my daughters have opportunities I didn't have as well. Yeah.
So important. Like I grew up in a single mother household as well. And if bills is always on the mind in the background.
Yeah.
It's a constant thing. So when you get to a point where, like, that's what one of the first SharkPods we talk about, people, if you don't know what to do, getting to sales is a good way to earn a lot of money. The potential is kind of endless of what you can do. And being in a position where you haven't worried about bills for years and years, because I appreciate it every day. It's
huge. It's huge. I don't think people talk about it enough. I don't know if that's an Irish thing either, but I don't think people talk about it enough. I mean, the more I look back, I go, how did I survive? How? Like, I had nothing. And even getting coal, making sure, all those little things. And it's not a nice way to live week to week. And and so nice to be able to say, what was the thing we were able to say the other day? There was something I said to my husband, isn't it great to be able to say that we can do that? And think it was just the car broken down or something needed to be fixed on the car. And it's like, okay, well, we'll get it done. And it was like, just like that, and things like that.
My wife I'm like the MacGyver around the house, because we didn't have money to get things fixed when I was growing. We just had to make do. So I'll figure out a way to kind of.
There was a lot of, I remember there was a lot of contraptions in that house.
Like,
just holding stuff together.
Yeah, I'm saying I grew up in a very happy household completely, but we had to make do. And
well, same here. Yeah. I think we all did, though, didn't we? I mean, we had stew most days for dinner, like, and poor man's stew, even better, which was coddle, like. But I think
I still won't eat spaghetti bolognese. That, like, I had too much of that growing up. It goes too far, And I said, anything. I think so. But
our Weetabix. That man used to eat. How many Weetabix did you eat in one bowl?
It was the only thing going at the time.
I think 10.
I wouldn't say 10 in a bowl.
It was a lot. I remember
like that. Yeah. I was going boy.
You see, and you see, when you've grown up like that, you appreciate. And I mean, I didn't grow up. I grew up in Tala. And I really love to see, I appreciate what's here on my doorstep so much. It's kept me sane through the pandemic. I was able to get out and walk the beach with the dogs. And so many people couldn't do that. And I used to put up videos of the sea. And then I was thinking, oh my God, am I looking like I'm bragging that I'm by the sea? But then people were messaging me saying, please keep posting the sea because I miss the sea,
It's Mark Baker, what's the last? It's Friday night here. I want to respect our guest's time here. Yeah, she wants to get out there, walk the dogs. What's the last question on your mind there? And we'll wrap this up.
Yeah. Okay. If you could advise someone to learn one skill, what would it be?
How to listen.
Interesting.
I don't think we've had that before. Or maybe I wasn't listening.
Exactly. Mark needs to learn how to listen for sure. But I think that's an underrated sales skill.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm rereading a book called Never Split the Difference. It's like a negotiation book. And one of the main things in that, as a negotiator, like he's a FBI hostage negotiator, is actually actively listening, and said it's way harder than you think.
Yeah, and it's something I'm only still learning too. Like, and I didn't realize I didn't listen for years. And but because I'm on a program as well in recovery, you try and live differently. It's one of the skills I've learned is to actually, and not react. Oh my God, not react as well. It's another one. So many. I'm only learning how to live now. Like, it's terrible.
I think we might. Something just came to mind there. Something that you mentioned earlier, and I was going to bring up, and we might end on this because this is a Twitter. I don't know if it was Twitter. I don't know if it was LinkedIn. I can't remember what social media it was, but it was a post by a hotel, and they were letting everybody know that they got new carpets. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this information. And it's not very engaging. So I think we'll try to avoid that type of posting after listening to this. But Samantha, it has been an absolute delight to have you on the SharkPod. We appreciate you coming on Friday evening, which is the time where people like to wind down for the week. But I really do appreciate it, and we'll let you know when this is out. And hopefully, you give us an share on the Twitter.
Of course, that goes without saying. And thank you guys, because I think actually when you finish this recording, I have an idea. So you see, I always, you've given me an opportunity. So I always look after people who give me opportunities. So that's the way it is.
Perfect.
Thanks a million.
Hey, also, a t-shirt or mug, what would you prefer out there, Rossler?
T-shirt. No, I don't know. Let me see the t-shirt.
So it will be the Mark's version there. I've got a legacy one on.
No, I want the cup.
The cup is brilliant.
So I'll just wear them as pajamas. Like, I won't.
Well, the cup, the mug is on its way to you. The tweeting got it. Thanks very much for joining us on the SharkPod this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
We're done. Perfect.
It's still recording.